right place, right time, I was given the opportunity for a 1-year appointment and to coach the team, and spent the year kind of convincing them that it didn't make sense to, cut a program that was essentially had like 80 walk-ons plus what we were spending in scholarships.
Right.
To get rid of that when you were having a loss of student enrollment. And so John Visser, who was the president, said, you know what, you're probably right. And so at the time, then he created a position for me that was essentially a coaching position. I was a special assistant to the president, basically, was my contract. And I did all the things that the teaching, on the teaching side, but I wasn't a tenure stream faculty member. But I had all the other responsibilities just like that. But essentially, it was one of the first coaching contracts, to put it that way. And so after 3 years, Bill Tidwell, the athletic director, came and said, hey, I think we found a spot. We're going to make this a permanent position. We can put you in the tenure stream, but you're going to have to get a degree. And I looked at him and said, I'm not getting a degree. I know there's security in having a degree, but I would just soon put my confidence in myself, and I'm going to be a coach. And so that was it. And so for the next 14 years, or the next 10, 11, total of 14 years at Emporia, I was on a 1-year contract, and do well, and we'll keep you around, basically. So,
well, do well you did. But I want to ask you, when you're becoming the head baseball coach and you're only a couple of years older than your players, what's that like?
Well, that was pretty interesting. There were guys that I started coaching that I'd actually played with, and that was, probably the thing that I've learned over a coaching career that I probably didn't understand at that time is that everybody's different, and you can't coach them all the same way. And it took me a great deal of time, but I felt like I didn't care back in 1974, but they're going to do it my way, basically. And so, back in 1974, you could get away with that a little bit more than you can today, of course. And so I think through the years I had to learn, my players and athletes a lot better. And but, to start out, I was going to go like, and that's really the way I did it, was like, hey, it's my way or the highway, basically. And we did that. And, it's kind of, I think, like, there was a great time to coach and play, at the time when, as a leader, you were respected for your knowledge and background, and everybody else wasn't smarter than you. Than like today, everybody knows more than those people in those positions. So you really have to be a way more talented leader than I ever was. So, but I really surely enjoyed the time at that time and these amazing players I had a chance to be with.
Well, just your 5th year in, you win the national championship for the first time. That's 1978. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
That was kind of funny because it was, so the journey was we kept getting better. In 76, we finished 3rd and lost in an amazing game to Lewis University, who had already won 2 consecutives and was getting ready to win their 3rd consecutive championship. And we went 13 innings with them and lost 2-1, and amazing group of kids who just, basically, except for a couple, were all Kansas kids or area kids, and but like performed way beyond, than we ever should have. But amazing group. And then in 77 was probably the best team that I ever put together. Outside of the 93 Kansas team, that 77 team might have been the most talented team that I've been with. And we were, number 2 ranked team in the country, and we lost to number 1 Southeastern Oklahoma in the regional final on the last day of the season, 45-9 going into the last day. And we lose a doubleheader to Southeastern, who was, outstanding. But anyway, so all of those guys who were so good essentially were gone.
Right.
And we started over in 78, and it was a long battle with that team. I mean, we went 41-20. and won the national championship. But it was never easy the whole way.
Right.
I mean, losers bracket in the district, losers bracket in the area, losers bracket in the World Series, and but just an amazing group of kids with character who were amazing competitors who obviously rose to the occasion when they needed to. And of course, that's always, as you know, I mean, it all comes down to pitching, and we had great pitching, and those guys kind of carried us through. Kevin Menden, who was the MVP of the World Series and first team All-American, was a fabulous pitcher and led us through that stuff.
Well, that is a crowning achievement. Where was the World Series for the NAIA then?
That was in St. Joe, Missouri at the time.
Okay.
So in 76 and 78, we were in St. Joe, Missouri. In 69, we were in St. Joe, Missouri. Mm-hmm. And then 70 was in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
But 76, 78, we're both there and in St. Joe. And it was kind of a neat spot at Phil Wells Stadium. It was kind of centrally located. And the funny thing of it is that Missouri, we played Missouri Southern for the national championship. And we had about 500 people in the stands. And in 1987, we were in Lewiston, Idaho for in the national championship game. And we had 7,000 in Lewiston, Idaho for Lewis Clark State and us. So a little different, nobody ever liked in the NAI that Lewis Clark State had, kind of a home field advantage. But I know that our kids sure enjoyed playing in front of 7,000 people. It was kind of the biggest crowds they'd ever been in front of. So
yeah, we'll get to that year a little bit later on. But as you're developing your coaching career, and this is and having great success, winning a national championship, personally, what was your life like?
What was that?
Personally, what was your life like then, as you grew as a coach?
I'm so thankful for a wife who allowed me to do what I did, and she was amazing. It's like all coaches' wives, allowing you, put in the number of hours, that you put in. Most of my days at Emporia State were 100. Most of my weeks were 100-hour weeks with teaching a full load, and coaching, and trying to be good at it. And so she pretty much, raised the kids and took care of things, and all of it wouldn't have been possible without her support. And so, very thankful for that. And but so my life was like, obviously, I wanted to be good at it, and I knew it was going to take time, and we put the time in, and probably more time than we ever should have, and but had players who were willing to put time into, and it's kind of crazy when you have a kind of an idea of what you want to do, and you get young people who buy in. It's pretty special. That's kind of the rewarding piece of coaching, is when you get kids who buy into kind of the junk that you're telling them to do, and they just do it. It's amazing. How
did you meet your wife?
We actually, she was very persistent. She kept telling my friends that she wanted to meet me or take me or, meet me or do something, or get together and call me and all that kind of stuff. So I was more concerned with baseball, and finally she kind of won out, and we ended up having a great relationship. We met, like our first date was in November, and we were married February 12th of next year. And so,
wow.
Yeah, and we're 52 years married. We're still getting to know each other,
Well, every year was a success to some level, and you just mentioned, and so year after year, you're playing in the tournament. You go to the World Series a couple of times, and then the last couple of years had great teams. Went to the World Series, and then were the runners-up, as you mentioned, in that game before 7,000 fans. At this point in time, were you starting to think about doing other things? Had that been a possibility through the years, or where were you at that 86, 87 area?
I had a couple people, that had approached me, schools that approached me, and not anything that was, that much of interest. And we really had, it's hard. And I remember telling Bill Quayle, the athletic director, it's hard to leave here because we really have things going in a good way, and I'd love to see it go and continue. And he was very honest with me that he felt like that we'd kind of max things out a little bit, and then so when the opportunity came at the University of Kansas, Monty Johnson had called me and said, "Hey, we'd like for you to be our baseball coach." And silly me, I said, "Hey, well, I don't know. Your program's not that good and all." Not anything that Floyd Temple, Marty Patton, or anybody else had done at the time prior to me, but it was like, I was pretty aware that, it takes a lot of work when you're starting from, the bottom of the heap. And,
right.
And you have things that are going pretty good where you're at, and you kind of got things in order. And maybe, like my wife said, well, hey, you're winning all the time. We've got kind of a routine going, and it's kind of working pretty good. And finally, when, Monty said that he wanted me to do it, I kind of said, well, I don't know. And he said, well, you don't understand. He said, we really want to have our baseball program to be good, and we think you're a guy who could help us to do that. And so I said, well, if that's your intention, then I'm interested. And so that's what we decided to do. So we ended up going to KU.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey Kansas City, Joe Spiker, Easton Roofing here. It's been a crazy weather year in Kansas City. You hear lots of ads for taking care of your storm damage. But if you didn't have storm damage, we're still here to help. If somebody talked you into filing a claim that was denied by your insurance, we're also here to help. Oftentimes, repairs are still needed. If you'd like a second opinion, give us a call. The consultation is always free and suggestions are built on integrity. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Enjoy all the excitement of football season at the 23rd Street Brewery. From the Jayhawks and college football to the NFL and even live-streamed Lawrence High and Free State football games, you can watch it all at the 23rd Street Brewery. Enjoy the games with your favorite menu item like the Bill Self Mac and Cheese, Naked Nachos, or the Haney Turkey Stack. And wash it all down with your favorite beer like a Wave the Wheat or Crimson Fog. 23rd Street Brewery on the corner of Clinton Parkway and Castled in Lawrence.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business on Kansas City's #1 rated podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you.
Our guest is Dave Bingham. He'll be in the induction class for the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame that is inducted next month, or actually this month, later this month, just a couple weeks away. And he's in a couple of other halls of fame, and so this will add to that particular list. You did take on the challenge at Kansas. I basically graduated from college a few years before that. I know I broadcast Kansas baseball games. I know where the program was at that time, and it wasn't. And also, the Big Eight then was the best baseball league in America, not like now where the Southeast Conference completely rules, and you had powerhouse programs there. So excuse me, I'm sorry. No, go right ahead. Yeah, because you had Oklahoma State, and I mean they were one of the best programs in the country, and it was a real challenge, wasn't it?
Well, when you look at it, I mean, Missouri, through the years, probably has the best history in baseball of any team in the Big Eight up to that point. And, again, Missouri, things have kind of changed a little bit, but there was a time when Missouri was, absolutely the best program in the Big Eight. And then, in 1986, I think Gary Ward went to Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 86, 87, somewhere in that range, right there. I think 86. And, and then Nebraska was always well-funded, had a good program, and Oklahoma, a great history. So you had those four schools,
right,
that were kind of the ones that were between Missouri, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Nebraska were kind of the top end of it. And then you had K-State, Kansas, and Iowa State kind of fighting it out in the other end of it, So it was pretty much an uphill battle, as you're saying, that coming in, historically that, Kansas had been like the 6th or 7th place finisher in the league. And there wasn't a lot of signs it was going to get better than that soon. So, so for me, it was like leaving a culture of winning